Hey everyone, welcome to Rock Fantasy Files, a new show that I've started for my shop, Rock Fantasy in Middletown, New York, and also www.rockfantasy.com. If you like what you see, hit subscribe and hit like and subscribe to the channel and comment and see it. I've got an old friend that I've touched base with, and we haven't talked in years, and it's Andrew Freeman, who grew up in Middletown, born in Horton Hospital.
Yes, sir.
Currently in the Last in Line band, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Well, you just did. I'm Andrew Freeman. How are you?
Other than that, I guess I did. I'm a little rattled. It's been a little rough week, and just want to make another note that Rock Fantasy and its staff stands with those who stand against racial injustice, because it's been a very tough week between this and the pandemic. We've been locked in our homes forever, and I'm just trying to get the energy to do something positive, and talk to some friends and get the word out about our website and try to stay in business along with everything else. So like Andrew, so how did you get started in music a little bit? Can you go back to the a little bit? I've got another question like Middletown, but I guess what was the first band what you played in and blah blah blah.
I mean, I've been playing guitar since I was about 12, and I played in little neighborhood garage bands, out in Pine Bush in Middletown. I grew up in Pine Bush, I just playing with friends, and coincidentally, a few of those friends are now still in the music industry, and there was a lot of different, little garage bands that we had around Middletown, Pine Bush, Thompson Ridge, all those little in the woods, So, and, we started out doing talent shows at the high school and playing in the, I think one of our first real gigs was like Town of Crawford Park in Pine Bush. And, I grew up with Gary Day from Primeval. And,
sure. Great guy. Good
friend. And, they had their own thing. We were a little different than that, but Gary and then Caffrey was always Chris Caffrey was always our elder statesman, I guess. He was the guy who made it, and Scott Hill and Rob Affuso and there were a few
cool
few people that were kind of came from that area and did bigger stuff, So, but yeah, the first band was probably the first one that everybody recognized was Bitter Rage. Was playing with my brother back when I was a teenager.
Oh yeah, Bitter Rage, yeah.
Bitter Rage, and then No Justice was another one. And
flashback to when I bartended at the class 57 and Powerhouse, and I remember me up there introducing the bands and working up in the booth, and I left that, and Kara Sprague, who worked at Metal Blade, is now a teacher out in, I think, I might be Pine Bush or Valley Central. She was DJing there too, Kara was, if you remember Kara.
I do. I remember the name, yeah.
But, I interrupted you, so you keep going if you want.
Oh, no, that's totally fine. No, totally fine. It's just, you were a big part of that scene, you were kind of the home of it, you know what I mean? Everybody would congregate at your store.
The home of rock and roll in Middletown. Yeah. We've been doing some shows at the bowling alley in town at Quinspins. Of course, I was sponsoring some shows at the Chance. So since you left town, and you're going to tell us how long it's been going. You've been going quite a while now.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
The scene in Middletown really dried up. There's nowhere for like metal bands or hard rock bands to play in general.
Yeah, well, I was playing with Rob Affuso's brother Al. He was playing drums, and we did like a tribute act that we would travel with. And it was himself, me and him, and so we started traveling outside the area a lot, doing that, and actually making money. And I kind of discovered this little area in Western Massachusetts. That's like around 2000. 2001. I decided to move up there. And
oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, because I was there. It seemed like I was in the state of Massachusetts every weekend working, doing driving up there and doing gigs, because there was a really good scene up there after our scene started to dry up, and it became, it became a lot of cover bands in the area, and in Orange County and you know, in Hudson Valley. And then so I just
Okay.
left. Yeah, so I went up there because it was work and I could work as a musician. So I was up
Mhm.
there for about 4 years, working 5 nights a week, you know, doing acoustic gigs, you know, cover gigs. We had an original band up there called 30 Stones that I did for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just, that's the
And then
progression.
and then after Massachusetts, you started playing and getting involved with some national acts, correct?
Yeah, I did a tour with George Lynch from Dokken, and I
Yes.
did like a 2-week East Coast run with him where they brought George in and put a band around him. So it was myself and Rob DeLuca from Spread Eagle, and who else? John Macaluso was a drummer. I don't know if he's played with anybody. And we did a tour with him, and then after that, my girlfriend at the time lived in she was living in London, and came home from London, and her mom had passed and decided that she wanted to leave Mass. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, because my band had just broke up, and I was like, yeah.
Okay.
We were kind of on our last legs. And I said, let's figure it out. So we were either going to go to Boston or go to Los Angeles. So we ended up in LA. So because we
Okay.
just, the idea was we can be broke and cold, or we can be broke and warm, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Cool.
so, and things started taking off out there. So I started with George, and then I met a few people through him, and then I ended up through Steve Massey. I don't know if you know Steve. You remember Steve Massey?
Of course, Steve.
Yeah.
Who's working in the music business still.
Yeah.
And I actually
Yeah.
just saw his uncle, who was an alderman in town.
Yeah. So I saw Steve. You know, Steve and I went to high school together. I've known Steve so long that our mothers went to high school together. They went to Middletown High School together. My mother and his mother. So when it was the old junior high school, that's when they went to.
I was in the crossover for that when that's how old I am now. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was no where the high school is now. That wasn't there. They were in the old school building there off of is that Wisner Avenue?
Yes.
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 20 years later, I remember.
It was Viraldi Junior High, right? Or something.
Yeah, it's a junior high now, but
yeah,
there was a high school. So they went to school together there,
and
Steve had come out about 10 years before me to LA, and just happened they were looking for a guitar player, you know, backup singer, you know, utility guy, and he called me, brought me in for an audition, and I got the gig. So.
And who was that with again?
It was with the Offspring.
Oh, the Offspring. That's right. Yeah, he's worked with them for years. So you started. So that was you were playing with the Offspring.
Yep.
And where do we go from there? Because you're filling me in, because I know you've been busy, and I wanted to get you on the show just because you're an interesting story from being from Middletown area and what you've done with yourself, and you know, getting out there and playing with the bands and all that.
Yeah, I'm an interesting story, all right.
Well, for me, you know.
Oh, we did that. I did that, and then I got let go from that, or not rehired. And I think they could sense my metal undertones to their punk rock. You know, I was playing a little too ahead or behind the beat, and everything has to be right on the money with them, right on the 1 and the 2. You know, so left that, and then had a son, and right around the same time. So I was kind of just not really doing much for a couple of years, but then I joined the band Hurricane. I did that for a little bit.
Okay.
And that went absolutely nowhere. And then I started, I worked on this session at that time with Simon Phillips, who's this famous drummer, would play with Toto. He's with The Who. He's with tons and tons of artists, big session guy. And just this band of, a collective of some of the top studio cats in LA, and it was, you know, him and God, everybody's name's escaping me.
Okay.
I should have prepared. I didn't prepare.
Hey, you know, we're all hanging in there, you know.
If anybody's not interested, email me. I'll tell you. Tim Pierce was the guitar player. He was a big session guy.
Yeah.
Roger Manning, was the keyboard player in Jellyfish.
Okay.
Also play with Beck, and he's really one of the top studio cats out there. I can't remember his name. It was, long beard guy. He played Phil Collins and
Okay.
Taylor. So it was just these really big studio guys. And
Yeah.
so I got asked by Simon, because I did a session there I got hired to do a session at his place to write a song for this kid whose dad was bankrolling his career. He was a teenage guitar player. So they hired me to write a song for him and record the vocals on it. So I did that. A year later, Simon contacted me and he said, hey, I have this session, we're doing like 30, 35 classic rock songs. And I need somebody to come down and sing throwaway vocals, just guide vocals. I said, all right, cool. I'll come down and do that. It paid really well. And went down and did it. And after 2 days, it became this. We didn't know what it was for, but it turned out it was for a CD for the Rating the Rock Vault show that I did out here in Vegas for 7 years.
7 years, wow.
Yeah. And so we did this recording, and they were going to bring in different singers, but then they ended up offering me a job doing the show. And so like maybe a year after that session, I was in Vegas doing the show, and then that lasted till about 2018. I think I stopped doing that one.
Yeah, I always. And one year I was out there for a trade show, and I think it was right around the time. I was like, oh man, I should go see you, but it wasn't going on while I was in town.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then so that must have been a pretty cool experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I ended up in Vegas, because I ended up, moving here, and we came out for a 3 month. What's that?
What casino was that?
It was at the time it was called the LVH. It's known as the Westgate now. It's the old Hilton where Elvis did his show.
Oh yeah, and that's where that was where the Star Trek experience was years ago too, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
My daughter works there now, and she works in the room where the Star Trek experience was. It's not there anymore.
That was a cool place to go, man. I remember getting drunk in there, and I'm Klingons bringing you drinks and everything.
Yeah. They got rid of that, but it's still like the inside of it still looks like a spaceship. It's pretty.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you can go in there and buy timeshare now. So.
Oh, is that what it is now? Yeah.
Yeah, it's owned by Westgate now. So.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. So, but it went from there to the Tropicana, and then it was at the Hard Rock, and then I don't know where it is now, but everything's closed. All the shows are closed out here right now. So.
Oh yeah. And then you're talking about the Rating the Rock Vault continued on after you got out.
Oh yeah, I got let go, so I was fired because of my big mouth. So.
Oh.
So, but and then that time, around the same time, I got, I played with Vinny Appice in Lynch Mob, and he asked me if I was interested in playing with the original Dio bands, which was Vinny Appice, Vivian Campbell, and Jimmy Bain. So
yes.
So we did that, and then that kind of became another thing. We did, started out just doing their old back catalog of songs, and then we got a record deal, offered a record deal, did 2 albums with that label, and now we're working on our 3rd.
Are you? I was going to just say, what are you working on now? So you're answering that question at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm working, actually right now, I'm lying. This is a cover of an old Ronnie Montrose song from an obscure band that he did called, what were they called? I can't remember what they're called, but the song is called Razor King, and it's myself and Phil Demmel from Machine Head is playing guitar on it, and
nice.
Jimmy D. What is his last name? God, my freaking Jimmy DeGrasso is playing drums.
We all have pandemic memories right now.
Dude, I'm telling you.
There's stress in the air. There's being in the house. I think if you stay in the house too long, you get Alzheimer's. I don't know if that's a new.
Maybe. Yeah.
So it's Jimmy. Even when I go out to go to my store or something, because I still go to my shop in the mornings where it's open because I'm doing mail order and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you know how many times I got to drive back here because I left a box or I left my mask here. It's like I'm driving up. Oh shit! I don't have my mask. So I think it's all part of just being locked up, bringing up names and everything else is not the way it was. We're not as sharp as we were without being socializing constantly.
I've never been that sharp, Steve. So.
Oh, okay. So anyhow, you were working on this project now.
Yeah, we're doing this cover. I don't know if it's going to be for one of those 4, where the COVID-19 stay-at-home band playing together sort of thing.
I see. I've seen some of that going on. Yeah.
Yes. So we're doing this song Razor King. That's what I'm working on right now. So it's pretty fucking cool. It's got full work. Let's see. My speakers will come on.
Hey.
No, I just want you to hear Phil play this. It's so good, dude.
All
Do you know,
right,
are
cool.
you familiar with Phil Demmel from Machine Head?
I know who he is. I'm not that familiar. No. I mean, I'm familiar with Machine Head, of course. I've seen them play before and a few times.
So good, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an easy part to play. It just killed it. So anyway, so that's what I'm working on right now. But then when this is done, I gotta jump into the new Last in Line record stuff. So.
So when the pandemic started back in March, were you guys on tour, or did you have a tour planned, or were you in a hiatus already?
Yeah, we were doing sporadic dates. We were just doing like fly dates. We just did a tour in December of UK and Europe, and
Okay.
we were home until February. Then we started doing like weekend stuff, just fly dates. And I believe our last gig was in Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
And outdoor gig at a place called Ferg's. And then we had stuff in March, April, May, and then Vivian had the Leopard Motley Crue tour that was supposed to start in June.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and so all our stuff got canceled, and then
Yeah, obviously.
everything got canceled. Yeah, so and what else? And then
you were coming back to the Chance too, right? Sorry,
I don't think so. We didn't have anything.
That last year you were up. I know you're in Poughkeepsie not too long. I think it was last year.
Yeah, I don't remember when we were there last, but it's been a while. We played there maybe about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
Maybe it was. Time flies.
Yeah, but yeah, we haven't done one there in a while, so it's been a little bit. So so, hopefully we have stuff booked in September and October and November now. So hopefully that'll keep. And it was all stuff that was postponed from these past couple of months.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Exactly. Like we were talking off camera a little bit before, how some states are kind of like getting very back to normal, and there's some states that aren't right now.
Yeah.
With people being allowed to congregate and go out and whatever else, and I know somewhere, I just was listening to the news today. They said that movie theaters were reopening. I forget, it's one of the states in the Northeast. So
yeah, they can open here now, I guess, but I heard that they don't. Some of them don't want to because I think they're making more money probably on home streaming. So
yeah,
I mean, open it. Why have the overhead? But
that's a lot of people are going to be learning new ways of doing things. So
yeah, exactly.
So I guess another question with you would like to discuss a little bit about your time in Middletown area. Would like go into we were mentioning a little off camera before some of the shows you saw or played at between, going to the fairgrounds in the 80s like we all did and had the big metal tours and national acts all coming into town. And we had the Sportland USA in the 90s. We had the Class, the Powerhouse. We had the Rock Palace. And I don't know if you want to just mention a few of your highlights from playing. I think you said you opened up for Marilyn Manson at Sportland.
Yeah, we did a show when I was in Heaven Some Murgatroyd. We did a show with Manson there, and it was on the first tour. That
was his first tour, I think.
Yeah. Portrait of American Family,
There's a lot of people that probably don't have any idea that Marilyn Manson ever played Middletown, more or less where Middletown Honda is now. Yeah.
Is that where it is? Is that what it's called now?
It was turned into a Middletown Honda, yeah, because originally it was, remember it was Middletown Lane. It was not Middletown Lanes. It was 1784 bowling alley. It was
84 Lanes, I think it was. Yeah.
And then it was, then the Walmart was next to it, which turned into Gander Mountain. But yeah, the Walmart was there next to it when that was the Rock Club.
Right.
And I had a lot of bands. And how many times? And you played the Powerhouse or the Class of '57 a bunch of times. Like I DJ'd there. You were there hanging out or playing there a lot.
I was there all the time. Well, my brother booked stuff there too, so I was there a lot as well. So it was
across. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. And I was a runner at that place. That was a big one from that was I got to be the runner for Alice in Chains when they were there once.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Alice in Chains, of course, one of my one thing that was famous with Rock Fantasy because we had them for an in-store when they were at
you
the
did your
fairgrounds
in-store. I was just thinking about that the other day.
with Slayer. You know, when they were on that Clash of Titans and no one knew who they were. I was contacted by I think it was Epic or whoever at the time and said, "Hey, do you want to put this band in the store?" And it goes, "I would take any bands in the store." I didn't know who they were. And then it rolled back around a couple of months where they played the Class.
Yeah.
That was just after they were just starting to pop when they played there.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because that Clash of the Titans show, they got booed off the stage.
Yeah, I think they did them. I think they probably did in most cities because they were like, a great band, but it wasn't what Slayer fans were looking for.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Or Megadeth fans, they were there to go crazy, and drink beer, and it was like, who the hell are these guys?
I think the show here was a little. They remembered it because when I was driving, Sean Kinney was in the car, and Mike Starr.
Mm-hmm.
I was driving them. They were staying over at the Holiday Inn, or not the Holiday Inn. They were staying over at Howard Johnson's, on 211, and we were coming from the Class. So we were coming around, the back way, like by where Price Chopper is and all that, and the back way, and they started talking about it, and Mike was very quiet, but Sean was talking about it. He kept going, "Hey, remember we played here? That was the time people throwing shit at us, and and Lane was calling the crowd. Oh, no, actually it was Lane. Lane was in the car with me. Fuck.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was me. Lane was in the passenger seat, and Sean Kinney was in. Like I had a Dodge Caravan with no seats in it, and I had like a bed frame, like one of those trundle beds that go underneath the one frame that goes under a trundle bed. I had the bottom of the trundle bed in the back of the van because I was moving it around, not thinking I was going to be driving anybody anywhere. So I think what might have happened is somebody didn't advance a runner. So I think I just got the call at the last minute, "Hey, you want to be a runner for the club?" So I came down, and so Sean was sitting in the back on the trundle bed fucking frame, and Lane was in the front of the in the front seat. So, and Lane, I think he was calling the crowd like a derogatory, very derogatory term, so I guess it was one that they remembered, but that was a big one for me because I was a huge Alice in Chains fan, and a couple days later they were basically on tour with Van Halen, and they had a one-off, so they had a day off of the tour, and they played remember they played at the Class, and they couldn't perform under Alice in Chains because they were contracted with Van Halen for the tour.
I don't remember that detail.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. So what were they called at the chance? What were they called in Middletown that night, or rather?
I think it was Facelift. They called themselves Facelift. So like the name of the album. So they did that, and then like 2 days later, we got invited down. My brother and I, and a couple other people. I can't remember who was with us, but we got invited to the Van Halen show when they played. They played 2 days later at Brendan Byrne Arena, whatever it's called.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't go, but I think I remember the talk was probably I was working at I don't know if I was still working at the Class when they played, or Kara Sprague, who worked for me, took over the DJ job because I was just that was when you could smoke in bars still, and and the DJ booth was upstairs.
Yeah, I remember.
And it kind of looked like this room here because I had all the blacklight posters up and everything else. And I would come home, and next day I'd be just coughing up black shit from smoking so much secondhand smoke. That's enough. I let her take it over, but there was a lot of great shows there. You were probably there when the Ramones played there too, right?
Yeah, when they broke out the front window. Yeah.
Is that what? I don't remember that. I remember it being so crowded at some of those shows. I would just be out front.
Yeah. That's where crowded. I was when the window broke. I was out front. Yeah. It was really crowded that night. Hey, but a side note, one more thing about that Alice in Chains story. We went down to the Van Halen show, and they had a party that night, and they got their gold record for Facelift that night when I was there.
Oh, wow.
And then Lane, I was standing at the bar, and Lane comes over to me right after he gets his gold record, walks right up to me, remembered me from the day before, and he said, "Hey, man, I'm really sorry about the other day." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I'm really sorry. I was sick the other day, and I wasn't feeling very good. I wasn't very talkative. Like, oh, dude, it's totally cool. But he's that fucking guy, to his credit, just got his gold record. There's everybody and anybody in that friggin' room at that time in New Jersey, which is, people from New York or people. He sat at that bar and talked to me for 45 minutes. Like,
wow.
We just sat there and shot the shit for 45 minutes, and he could care less about anybody else. Like, he was not, people come up to him and he'd be like, yeah, cool, I'm talking. You know what I mean? And he was just, it was one of the coolest things that ever happened to me. I like, to this day, I'm like, just really cherish that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, when one of your idols, when you could say that you had a conversation like that and they took the time to just talk, I mean, I don't even do that now sometimes, me, I'm not, but I'm nowhere near that level, but you know what I'm saying? Just like, it was pretty cool,
Any other memorable times in Middletown you want to relive or remember, or maybe there's something you don't want to remember? Any gigs that you played in, or concerts that you remember at the fairgrounds enjoying, or anything like that?
Yeah, I remember the night of the Metallica show remember Metallica played there, and at the Speedway.
Yeah, was that the one 89 or 94? 89?
No, it was the year that. Well, I ended up in the bar because the OJ car chase happened.
Yes, the night the Metallica played. That was in 94, right? I think that was on the.
I think it was, 94. Something
they were
like that,
with. Now, I refresh my memory. Was that with Danzig and Suicidal Tendencies?
I don't remember.
I don't remember exactly. I know I'm hazy. That's what I mean. I think I've been in the house too long. Even my friends are like, Steve, you got to get out. I do get out, but.
I was never a big Metallica fan, so but I'd go to all the concerts I could there, just because it was.
We went to everything. I mean, going to some concerts and hardly leaving the 31st lap, up at the bar.
Well, that's where I was most of the night. Yeah, I was most of the night at the 31st lap. So.
I was working the Sportland that night. I was doing some kind of promotion at the Sportland with Rock Fantasy. It was one of those real hot summer muggy days.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember leaving before the set was over with Metallica. You kind of knew, well, you got 3 or 4 songs. Let's go to Sportland. I was with my wife, and when we got to Sportland, everybody was watching TV, and there was this white Blazer going down the road, and it was the O.J. Simpson chase. Yes. Yeah. That was that same night. Yeah.
I mean, so many shows, dude. I mean, between the Speedway and the Chance.
The Chance too. You have no chance is still going, at least knock on wood before this happened. Hopefully Frank's going to be able to ride this crazy wave around here of no entertainment, and who knows. And
I mean, he'll be. I'm sure he'll be all right. He's
we're all in the same boat. Frank owns a gym and owns the Chance, so right now it's a double.
Right.
And I guess. What other interests do you have other than music? Do you like sports, or do you collect toys or anything like that?
I don't do a lot of collecting. I mean, I get so busy with this stuff, and I just I focus, but I have an 11-year-old son, so we do a lot of. He's into sports, so I've kind of gotten into sports to the effect where I'll coach baseball from time to time, and just kind of. Facilitate him. I'm very lucky that I don't have to work, crazy hours. I do a show here, and I do gigs here in town from time to time. I sub on a show here in town now. I'm not really a full-time guy, which is totally fine with me. I just want to
cool
because I go, I've been going on the road and stuff. But the sports stuff. Yeah, I've really gotten into English soccer lately.
Okay,
last couple of years. I never liked it before, but now I'm really into it now, into the Premier League, and I'm into. Been crazy into baseball and when it's happening.
Right
now. But I was coaching my kids' team for a while, and maybe doing it again next season. We'll see. Maybe in September when they start up again, I might start. So we do. You do baseball here year round. You can do it here year round. And, so there's a fall season, and then there's for the Little League. There's fall season and there's spring season. So so now he just started doing club ball. He's just tried out for a club ball team, so probably gonna be chasing him all over 3 surrounding states, going to tournaments and stuff over the summer. So
Cool.
So we'll see where it goes, but that's about it. Tinkering in the garage and aging, trying to age gracefully. And
pandemic. I mean, a little different out here. We're really stuck in the house. You guys have a little more freedom out there now.
Yeah, and plus all my daughter's out here too. She was living in Middletown for years. She moved out here for 5 years ago. And,
I've met her before.
Yeah, so she's in her 30s now, and she just moved out. So she moved out. Shit, I think about 5 years ago. She was living she lived in Scotchtown and just wasn't having a good time of it. So
Scotchtown and Vegas is probably quite a big difference.
What's that?
Scotchtown and Las Vegas is probably a little bit different.
I don't think there is a Scotchtown out here. But,
there's quite a difference there, yeah.
Scotchtown to here, yeah.
A little more to do in Vegas, I'm sure. Yeah. I guess we'll wrap things up pretty quick. And what were a couple of your favorite? Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about Last in Line. Your current thing you're mainly doing, and what were some of your favorite moments, or maybe favorite gigs or tours, or just when you really had a great vibe, maybe playing a festival in Europe or something like that, or gigs in the States? I don't know.
Well, one of the big ones, we opened the Download Festival last year. In old Castle Donington Festival, the Download.
Oh wow, yeah, sure.
So when we played with Def Leppard. Def Leppard was a headliner. It was Leppard and Whitesnake and who else? Slash. It was a big big list. Yeah, and Clutch was on there too. So I like those guys.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it was we were the first band to open the whole festival. So that was a big one for us. That was last year. And then we've done, now I don't know, man, there's been a lot of festivals. It's just been one of those things where it's a cool band because you can play a lot of really iconic stuff that we all grew up with, and now I'm kind of becoming, I don't want to sound like an asshole or act like I'm anywhere, that I feel like I'm Ronnie Dio by any means, but I'm kind of becoming the voice of these songs now, and as the songs that they wrote as a whole, the original four guys and the first three records, those songs, it's as close to authentic as it can get with the guitar player and the drummer, and we have a new bass player, Phil Susan, who played with Ozzy for years, so he's in the band now too. So, but we're 3 albums in now, so the fact that we can go out and play these iconic, songs like Rainbow in the Dark and We Rock, but then also play, some of our stuff, along with it, and people are singing our stuff just as much as they're singing the old tunes. It's pretty cool, it's definitely it's a great feeling. So, but again, the downside of that is it's a part-time band, because our guitar player is big rock star, and he plays with a big rock band now. So he's
Vivian Campbell, you mean?
Yeah, we work whenever he's available. So
I have he has his own pop figure. I have it at Rock Fantasy. So
do you? That's
yeah. I should have brought it here with me.
Yeah.
They made a Def Leppard pop series, so yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
He is a legend in the business, and
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
of course, your drummer I've met before. Of course, Vinny Appice.
Yeah.
And of course, from the great Black Sabbath days with Dio, with Heaven and Hell and all that. I believe he played on the Heaven and Hell album, right?
He played on
Mob Rules.
Mob Rules. He played on, yeah.
So Bill Ward was still on the Heaven and Hell album, I believe.
Yeah, which came first, Heaven and Hell or Mob Rules?
Heaven and Hell was the first Dio. Sabbath.
Yeah. I guess so.
I should have
Bill
brushed
Ward,
up on that part too, but
well, Bill, I can tell you, Bill Ward did the record, and then he didn't. Then Vinny came in and did the tour.
I think because I saw that tour. The Heaven and Hell tour I saw at Lebanon Valley Speedway. It was the Black and Blue tour as a young kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah, Blue Oyster Cult. It was Black and Blue tour. And then I got to see Black Sabbath with the Mob Rules tour a couple times.
That's cool.
Binghamton and Glens Falls Civic Center. And I got my Black Sabbath shirt on today.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the back of it. I don't know. Yeah, this is the one that Keith Salentano got me when he went to, because Keith was
the last show.
Keith went to wherever, over to the last shows in England, I believe.
Oh, he went over to England to see him?
Keith did, yeah.
Ah,
Got me,
cool.
Keith Santana got me a shirt. Yeah,
Ah,
another
cool.
local rock and roll legend, right?
I just saw him. He came out for my birthday party. My girlfriend threw me a birthday party. He flew out for it. So, and basically,
yeah.
right when he left, everything shut down. So
I thought he was insane because we're all shutting down here, and all of a sudden Keith's getting on a plane. I'm like, where the hell are you going, buddy? I'm like,
he
I'm like,
almost didn't go home,
I'm
dude.
in a bunker here, like, oh, we're all gonna die in a week, you know?
He almost didn't go home. He was gonna stay.
And Keith was like walking down the street, taking pictures of nobody on the street. I just chatted with him yesterday, actually. So I don't know. Anything else you want to add? I guess we've kind of covered most of the bases.
I mean, anything else you want to hear?
I don't know. Any other stories you want to talk about, or maybe?
I don't know, man. I really find how our little area that we grew up in, how big it is in the world. You know what I mean? It's so many people. Like I have so many contacts out from that area that are still, you know, that have some sort of, you know, presence in the music business still, you know, and it's
like I guess you could throw some names, like of course Fran.
Yeah, Fran's working for Kiss, been working for Kiss for years. He works for everybody. He works for
he works
for Van Halen. Folks. Yeah. Well, he worked for Van Halen for a little bit. He works God, you name it. He's worked for everybody. Massey's worked for everybody, you know. These guys are like, you know, very sought after, you know, production people now here.
Cool. That's very cool. And now did you play in a band? You played in a band with Fran too?
I did years ago.
Back in the local days. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, we were in that No Justice band together for a long time. So.
All right, yeah.
But I've known Fran since I was, you know, I met him when I was 4. His mother was my babysitter. That's how I met him. So, yeah.
What a great story.
So, you know, there's a lot of people who, you know, connections, you know, like that I make, like my friend Jody from the pinball company that is you're friends with, you know.
Jody Dankenberg, right?
Dankberg, yeah. Just like, oh, you know, it's 7 degrees of Middletown, you know what I mean? 7 degrees separation from Middletown, and it always blows my mind, you know. There's a guy who lives in Vegas now he's been living out here for years, and he was a friend of mine from Pine Bush, and I just got reconnected with him. He's running for family judge here in
wow.
In Vegas.
World, right?
Yeah, it really is, man. It really is. So
I might want to go to Vegas now too. You think we can move the whole house and the store out there right now? I might rather go.
I think you'd do great out here, dude. You do great. So
nice dry heat.
Huh?
It's a nice dry heat.
Yeah, exactly. That's a real thing. It's you once you get in it, you won't miss the humidity, my friend. I know I don't.
Oh, you know, I was out there one year because I would go out for trade shows in like July, August, and it was, you know, you'd be out. It was so hot that it was just a weird heat to me because it would like even at like 2 a.m, like the banisters like on the bridges on the strip would just be hot to touch.
Oh yeah.
And then you get that like warm breeze, but when I got off the plane here in Newark, it was like 85 and humid, and it felt way worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's heavy, you know.
It's like you can't breathe.
It's like a hairdryer. The wind out here is like a hairdryer.
It is.
Yeah. But you'll say stuff like people like yesterday. We were out. My son had a game yesterday, and we're at the game, and it was 108.
Yeah.
You know, it's 108, and then the breeze started kicking. And be like, oh, cool, a breeze. But again, it's like a hairdryer, and you're like, oh, it's cool it off. The sun goes down, it starts cooling off. I'm like, oh, at least it cooled off. It's 102. You know what I mean? At nighttime. You know what I mean?
I've been out there when it was like 118.
Yeah, I've had those days too. Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah, crazy. I guess, you know, I tried starting this up just because with the pandemic, I was forced to go online. So we have an online store for Rock Fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're from the area, moved away and want a Rock Fantasy T-shirt, or you want to support, you know, a small business and buy some CDs, some records, some action figures. You know, we sell the you know, the Funko, not the Funko, but the Reaction Little King Diamond, Maiden figures, and the Pops, and, you know, stuff like that. And we can ship anything pretty much.
Hey, that's good to know, because actually my friend Marcus came out here a couple years ago, and he brought me some I think he brought me like 2 or 3 Rock Fantasy T-shirts. He went and bought them. Yeah, I brought them out, but they're too big. They're extra larges. They're too big for me. So I gotta do an exchange.
All right. Well, when you come back on tour, drop by or whatever, or something.
There you go.
Yeah,
no, I'll just give them to some friends. I'll pass them off to some friends, and then
yeah, give them to a friend. So,
but I gotta get one from you too. I haven't had a Rock Fantasy T-shirt in years, so I gotta get a new one.
Oh yeah,
so.
we'll make that happen. We'll make it so. As
Yeah.
Star Trek, we were talking about Star Trek, whereas you were doing the your show where in the old Las Vegas Hilton where Elvis played, and of course where the Star Trek experience was for years, which was a must stop for a lot of people when they went on vacation. Because that was a cool little experience.
Yep. It was a cool place.
Make it so, as they say, and I guess.
Well, I'm glad you're doing this, Steve. I'm glad you're doing this. This is not sorry to cut you off, but
no,
this is you're
all day too. So
you're a fixture, man. You're a fixture in metal and in rock music for years now, and there's no reason why. People who have done less than you have are doing this, and you should be doing this because you're a good conversation, and that's really what you need to be to do this. So
I hope to be. I think I'd be a little more creative if all this like chaos wasn't going on around with the disease and everything else. But we're getting there. I wanted to do this a couple of days ago, and I have a few other bands lined up. I have Alex Boakes from Immolation and John McEntee from Incantation lined up, and maybe and a few others, and a lot of people. We just weren't in the mood this week. So this is kind of getting us back into motion, and we just hope that everything starts to come around, and we get a lot of togetherness back in the state.
We'll get there. I think there's going to be a lot of awareness to these to these issues after this cools down a little bit.
I think so. Yes.
I think a lot of people are going to think twice about
doing bad things.
Exactly.
To innocent people, yes. And so if someone's a fan of Last in Line or Andrew Freeman, how do they find you? They want to buy a T-shirt or record? Do you have a website or anything like that?
Yeah, I could give you it's Last in Line Official is the band's website, and then mine is I think mine's andrewfreemanmusic.com. And but you can always just Google it, and it'll pop right up. So it's the top.
Of course, yeah. And of course, if you're looking for me, it's rockfantasy.com. It's a rock, and of course, find us on YouTube here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment, and maybe somebody's got a question, a question for Andrew. They can ask it on there, and we'll share it around and try to keep rock and metal alive because we're all in a bad situation with bands and music in general without being able to go out, see a show, have a beer with your friends, and rock out at some shows. And of course, how you guys make money at being on tour and selling your merchandise and everything else now.
Yeah.
We're all in it. I hate to say it, we're all in this together, which we've been saying for weeks now. But the music industry is definitely into it together, and
it'll be back. It's just on a little break, and I think maybe it needed a little break.
Yeah. People got to connect with their families and whatnot.
Exactly.
Relearn. And old dog like me is now doing a video show and has a website. Can you believe it? I would have never done any of that.
I love it. All
right. So
we're evolving. We're evolving as people.
I hope so. You wouldn't know by watching the news right now, but let's hope we are. Let's hope it is.
Yeah.
It's a growing pain. All right. So we're gonna wrap this episode up, and you guys stay safe out there. And
you too, brother.
Andrew, you stay safe in Vegas, and I hope that we all start hanging out again soon, enjoying some music. And thanks for watching.
I'll see you, man. Thank you.